Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand. We're on Thursday, so today is Thursday, December the 7th, 2023. We're coming down to the end of the year here. We're going to wait a few minutes, give people a chance to come in, hopefully. Hopefully, everybody's having a good week thus far as we wind things down here. Um, if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. Also, if anything grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Um, on New Mesa, where the cowboys roam, everyone live by the code of the West. On New Mesa. Let's see now. Ah. So I guess there's a the musical I guess that had its world premiere recently in Chicago, um, called Boop the Musical, which is actually a musical that's based on Betty Boop, the of course character originally created by the Fleischer brothers back in the 30s. So promises to be, their pre-Broadway debut happened in Chicago at the CIBC theater recently. So you might want to be looking out for that. Let's see now. And we are waiting for the 3 minute mark here. Let's Hong Kong Fooey, number one super guy. Hong Kong Fooey, quicker than the human eye. Chicka chong, chicka wong, wong, wong. Hong Kong Fooey, that's terrific. Hmm. Oh, let's see now. I said if anything here we talk about grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions best of my ability. So we're just okay, and now coming on to 50 mark here. So when we hit 3 minute mark, then I'll talk about what's on tap for tonight. And all right, so tonight, of course, is the night Thursday nights are usually the day we go over the Indie Comic Showcase on Bleeding Full, which we're going to do tonight. Also, of course, later on the show, we'll have our wrestling wrap up and this day in each history. So, with that, why don't we go ahead and get started here? Why don't we just go ahead and get started? Hopefully, people will come in soon. As I said, if anything here we talk about grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Without no further ado, let's get going here. All right, so Indie Comic Showcase number 251, The Formula, Indivisibles, and Joe King versus Job Ads. Article by Chris Braley, published yesterday on Bleeding Fool. Oh, here we go. All right, so let's go ahead and get going on this. Okay. All right, welcome back to another installment of Indie Comic Showcase, the weekly blog, um, where we signal boost a few truly independent comics that are currently crowdfunding their projects, crowdsourcing their funding in some way, or just completely self-publishing on their own. Every little bit of support for these creators matters, from a single dollar pledge to the $25 bundle, and of course, the higher tiers are usually fun too. Even if you can't back a campaign or buy a book, you can share or tweet about these projects to your friends and followers. or just catch my channel every Thursday night, and we usually will cover them on here as well. On Indie Comic Showcase, we interview the creators, show off some art, and tell you how you can check out the project for yourself. Below, we have some outstanding crowdfunding campaigns this week for you to learn about, enjoy, and hopefully support by backing one or more of them. Thanks for checking these out and for being the best part of Indie Comic Showcase. Let's jump in. The Formula by Elijah Isaiah Johnson. Very interesting artwork there. All right. I guess here's the site of it. All right, so here we go with the first one here. And if you guys want to check this one out, there's the link to go check it out. So let's get into the interview here. Here, let me should probably key that up for a moment. Give you guys a chance to look at that. All right. All right, so let's get into the interview here. Chris Braley, welcome to Indie Comic Showcase, Elijah. Hit me with the elevator pitch for your comic, The Formula. Elijah Isaiah Johnson. 10 years after a downtown Los Angeles fire kills their father, Ashtray, quote unquote, Jones, the city's greatest firefighter, Romeo and Jay Jones, grow into your average all American teens faced with a crime epidemic and a designer drug craze sweeping their city of Bayview, California. But when the action starts to hit too close to home, Romeo and Jay take the law into their own hands as the vigilantes Thunderstorm and Brigadier. With LAPD homicide detectives Mark Bronson and Angel Rivera, the Jones brothers must find the formula to the perfect storm. How the elusive crime lord Dexter Dre pulls all the strings, or if there's another enemy waiting in the wings. The Formula is a 5-volume police procedural urban fantasy graphic novel. That's 5 years in the making. Volume 2 features 38 of hard-hitting action, comedy, and justice. Yeah, Bayview, which I guess is, it's funny how in fiction people like to create cities in California that don't. Bayview here, you got Bayside on Saved by the Bell. So Chris, um, whoa, where did the idea for this comic come from? Elijah, our dad, co-writer Frederick Johnson, came up with the concept in its earliest form um, as a bit of an inside joke based on my brother's, and my own personalities. But ultimately, Aaron, um, in parentheses here, Johnson, co-writer and artist, and I fleshed out the story to the point turned into something substantial and interesting. For volume 2, we pick up where the first one left off and throw in a handful of new characters as well as fill in some gaps left behind in episode 1. with the way it starts, you might think you know who did what and how it plays out, but it's all smoke and mirrors. The plot thickens and the yarn tangles. Characters have connections to each other that you wouldn't expect, and that runs all the way to the final volume. We published the first part through Friesen Press, and it went really well. But through that process, we got some insights into how it works and decided it was something we could handle on our own the second time around. So here is the some artwork here. Let's see if anybody's saying anything yet. No, I guess not. If you haven't already, of course, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people involved, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With that, as we continue on here, Chris, what kind of comic reader is this aimed at? Elijah, this is a comic aimed at people who want something that feels both nostalgic but also outside the box. Equal parts police procedural, urban fantasy, superhero fiction. It's a slow burn in that we don't get capes and costumes right away, and there's a lot of forensic and police activity we get into from the intro to the outro. Um, and we're talking about two teenagers who are coming up against superpowered guys with no powers of their own except their wits. It's a different flavor, and we approach it with humor, action, and a lot of human drama. Kind of like Batman in some respect. Batman and Flash, even to a lesser degree, in regards to at least Barry Allen, because he was a police chemist, I believe. Um, if it were a movie, it's PG-13 at the lightest and a hard R at its darkest. Some utilizing the kind of the darker shades there. Let's see. All right, so Chris, tell us about your history with comic creation. Elijah, I've been in comics for over 10 plus years now, snagging some Comixology and Amazon bestsellers a couple of times, having done stints for Adobe, UCLA, and some others. Aaron's had similar experiences. We've done a lot of crowdfunded books for different brands and ourselves, and all of those experiences really culminate in the formula, especially since the story was developed over years. We grew as writers and artists. We took pieces of what we liked and what we felt worked from all our individual projects and combined them into what we have here. Chris, talk about your creative team that contributed to the project. Elijah, the only person we brought back from Volume 1 was my buddy, Tobin Racicot, who did the lettering. This time around, we found our colorist combo with Jason Higgins and Aaron Johnson. We connected with Jason via Anime Hip Hop, our multimedia production distribution house, started by Aaron, our friend Eric McElroy, and myself. We brought Jason on for an animated project we did a little while ago, but realizing his talents extend to coloring as well, brought him aboard for this outing. I guess there's a sign of that. Let's see. Chris, what's your production workflow like? And if it's not complete, how far along is the book? Elijah, we very much believe in just getting the base of everything complete. In this case, the line art, and then adding on to that. The book itself is complete at 234 drawn pages. The thing that ends up taking up the most time and resources now is finding the perfect team to flesh it out, getting the funding to bring everyone on, and then promoting it once it's out. Good news is we have some regulars to rely on, like Tobin, and the rest of the crew we assemble as we go. Crispin asks, what have you been learning from self-publishing through all this? Elijah, it's really just been reaffirming what we already know. In this business, we have to be all things to all people. You're the spokesperson, the creative talent, the marketing team, the distributor, etc. I think the most helpful things to have learned is that everything really is easier with a team. Having the backing of a larger crew like Anime Hip Hop has helped tremendously with the legwork for conventions and manufacturing. Let's see. Let's try something here. Oops. So, anyways, I think Chris then asked, "What's coming up next for you, Elijah?" The plan is to release the remaining 3 volumes and ultimately do a collected edition, like a trade paperback with all 5. It'll be a hefty book. Outside of that, we've been working concurrently on the screenplay adaptation, so all works out, and we should see it on the big screen sooner than later. I think it should say sooner rather than later, but we've always been told that the fact it's a family affair, written and illustrated by father and sons, is a pretty special thing. So there's that. We bypassed crowdfunding for Volume 2, but you never know how things can shape up in the future for the additional volumes. So I think they just basically did a more of a direct. They just did the website, just directed, marketed more directly for it. Yeah, I think that should say any, not and, but any final words before we wrap this interview? Chris asked. Elijah, we hope people see what we do and can find some sort of inspiration in it. Self-publishing isn't easy, but it is far from impossible, as it may seem. If you have an idea you think deserves to be in the world, there's for sure going to be someone who needs what you have to give. Take a chance on yourself. Chris, good advice. We're rooting for you. All right, so now, of course, we're going to move on to the um, next article here, or next part of the interview here, or next segment here. All right. If you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With that, The Indivisibles by Stephen E. Seal. Okay, and then I'll grab the link for the campaign here. Huh. If I can find that blasted cursor. Oh, there it is. All right, so let me one more time here. I got the Indivisibles. Okay, name of the. All right, so let's see now. All right, so here's the link to this article. It's I believe um I can't even think of the name of the site now. Anyways, Fund My Comic. It's a Fund My Comic project. If you want to go check that out, there's a link to it. So let's get into the interview here. The Indivisibles by Stephen E. Seal. Chris Braley, welcome to this week's ICS. Stephen, what's your elevator pitch for The Indivisibles? Stephen E. Seal. When a shadow government group secretly doses people with a serum, causing them to develop superpowers, some of their victims fight back, forming a superhero team to take down the shadow government. Chris, where did the idea for this comic come from, and what kind of readers is it aimed at? Stephen, um, I've had various ideas for superheroes I would like to see in powers I would like them to have for over 20 years, and finally decided to put some of those ideas together into a single story. This book is for anyone who enjoys gritty superhero stories aimed at adults, fans of the Boys, Watchmen, or Frank Miller's Batman comics. So this is looking like kind of more of a gritty type of comic he's giving us here. All right, so let's see now. Here we go. Hey, Metal, Hanukkah, Samich, Samich. All right, well, Thank you for dropping in there. Anyways, we continue on here with the article. Let's see. Chris asks, how would you describe your style and creative process? Stephen, my style varies based on genre. I tend to write stories that are dark and gritty. That being said, while I do have some moral ambiguity at times with good characters making the wrong choice, or showing how the villain has a tragic past and how they rationalize their choices, there's always a clear distinction of who is the hero and who is the villain. With lines the hero doesn't cross, even if they sometimes skirt the line. Very interesting tightrope he's walking. Chris then asks, what are the roles of your creative team? Stephen in response says, I am the writer, creator, scripting the comic, and lettering the finished pages. Penciling and inking the comics, I have Romualdo Souza from Brazil. For my colorist, I have an up and coming comic book colorist from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, known professionally as Wem7. I send the script to both my artists, Romualdo Souza, sketches and inks the pages and sends them back to me. I send those pages to Wem7, who colors and sends them back. I add the lettering to finish the pages. Oh, there we go right there. How far along is the book in production? Chris asked, and Stephen responds, today, Romualdo Souza has completed 8 pages in black and white, and Wem7 has colored 2 of them. Production will continue once I have raised money to pay the artist. I have set various goals to allow me to complete 120-page issue in black and white, the same issue in color, 2 20-page issues in color, or a full 60-page issue in color, depending on how successful the campaign ends up being. Here's some of it right here. And I do need to step away from the computer for a moment, so I'll be right back, but I'm going to put some music on while I'm gone. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Let's see, and it looks like we have some people here. So, hey, Devil Flyer. Hail, Mike. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah. All right. So, anyways, we'll get back to the article here. So let's see. Chris asked then, what have you been learning from crowdfunding and creating through this process? Stephen, creating a comic is not as simple as just coming up with an idea. You have to find an artist who can realize the idea and also find the funds to compensate them for the work they do for you. I also have some other comics I have written. Two of them are published so far. They are in multiple different genres as well, including superhero comics, fantasy, and post-apocalyptic. Here's a black and white version of what we just been seeing in color earlier. Okay, Chris then asked, before we wrap this up, would you like to share some details about your Fund My Comic campaign? Stephen, in response, says, yes, I have created 2 tiers for the book. For the lower tiers, backers will receive a digital copy of the finished comic, while the upper tier backers will receive a digital copy as well as a signed physical copy of the finished comic. Whether what is received is a 20-page black and white comic, a 20-page color comic, 2 20-page color issues, or a 60-page color graphic novel will be dependent on how successful the campaign ends up being. If I meet only the base goal of $1,500, the result will be a single 20-page black and white issue, while stretch goals will result in greater rewards for the backers, such as the full 60-page color graphic novel. If the goal of $6,500 is reached, it is my hope that this will incentivize backers to spread the word far and wide, as the greater the success of the campaign, the greater their reward. And then Chris says, good luck with the campaign. There we go with that one. Now, here we go with the last part of the article here, featuring, of course, our good buddy George Peter Gatsis. And if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. We'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So with that, let's go ahead and continue on here. So Joe King versus Job Ads by George Peter Gatsis. And there's George's furry blue friend there. And let's go over to the campaign here. Go to the Fund My Comic site. Grab that. On exclusive edition, of course, from Critical Blast Publishing, in association with, of course, R.J. Carter. All right, so and here's the link to this particular project. If you guys want to check that out, there you go. You can go to that particular site. All right, so Chris Braley, welcome back to ICS George. What's the pitch for your latest Joe King adventure comics? George Peter Gatt says Joe King's cape is damaged. He needs to get to the North Pole to have Santa repair it. But he needs money to get there. So Joe is going to have to find a job. The web the webtoon comic is now a physical book. The story came from my ID. My ID said, quote, let's do this, unquote. My super ego, okay, I'm sorry, not my ID, my id. My id said, let's do this, quote unquote. My super ego said, quote unquote, are you nuts? And my ego said, quote, oh, attention, I like it. Okay. That's some interesting look from the ladies there. Chris, what kind of comic readers is this suited for and who's it aimed at? George, if you like the Born Identity, Winter Soldier, John Wick Series 3, John Wick series, or 3 Days of the Condor, then this is not the comic book for you. Go get the Immortal Mask from Denalish.com if you like hardcore science fiction and biting satire. Then job ads. Wait, okay. Go get if you like hardcore science fiction with biting satire, then job ads is for you. Yeah, that is George's humor style, all right. Hmm. All right, so as we continue on here, let's see. Chris, how do you come up with your comic ideas? George, I usually float around in my mini indoor pool for half a day, wondering if I should wade over to the large outdoor pool and play with the dolphins. Okay. Once I have had 5 full dinner servings, okay. Starting at 8 a.m. and running through to 7 p.m. at night, I relax in my rich Corinthian leather couch, um, watching whatever live sport competition is on until midnightish, then retire from the hard day's work and sleep until 8 a.m. and my entire day repeats. Job ads is based on a true story. The names have been changed to protect the innocent, and the locations have been changed to protect the property value. Here's some more artwork there. And there's Joe King again, the blue furry friend of George Peter Gadsden's. Chris, you do this all by yourself. What does your production workflow like? Oh, yeah, okay. George. George the writer didn't do much because George the artist did most of the work until George the letterer ended up taking over the project and changing all the context of the whole book. And then George the proofreader. Oh boy, George Peter Gatson's talking in third person there. That's some funny stuff. George the proofreader goes nuts trying to understand the hardcore science fiction content of the book and calls the local university professors for assistance in confirming if the events in the book can actually happen. There's joking flying in the vortex there, it looks like. Chris, you've been doing this for a while. Um, have you learned anything about self-publishing over the years? George, I learned something 3 decades ago, but forgot it as I had to wait around in my warmed, salted mini pool since then. Okay. Hmm. That's it. And then I guess they forgot a little editing error here. I think this is Chris asking, are there more Joe King stories to tell? George, there are 16 volumes so far, which means if I were to make them into comic books, that would be about 6,000 pages. That's quite a lot of work there, Georgia boy. Chris, what's unique about this Fund My Comic campaign? George, the webtoon book is taken down, and job ads is an exclusive to Fund My Comic. Fund My Comic, in terms of cover and additional pages added from the webtoons version. And we have one stretch goal. If we hit it, everyone gets a special second book. Let's see. Chris, thanks, George. Anything else you would like to share with our readers before we sign off? George, there is a cure for censored, and no one has to die from the quote unquote censored, or in parentheses. Chris, laugh out loud. All right, that's it for this installment. If you're a creator ramping up your own campaign, or have a comic available for purchase online, and you want to be featured in our weekly column, click here. And follow Indie Comic Showcase on Twitter at Indie Comics, and reach out to them for more eyes on your crowdfunding comic project. Till next time, support Indie Comics. All right, so we're done with that one. Again, here are the formula from what we read earlier. Want to go check that out? There's a link to that. The Indivisibles. There's a link to that project, and also Joe King versus Job Ads. So if you guys want to go check those out, I suggest you follow those links to do so. Of course, with that now we're gonna go ahead and now, of course, going to go ahead now and get into the wrestling wrap up, as we do have just a few items to go over here. Some news from around WWE, AEW, and Ring of Honor. As first off, the WWE news, one piece and a couple little. Doesn't look like Vince McMahon is really going anywhere. TKO Holdings seem to want to keep him around in his current capacity, even though there was some speculation he might be stepping away, as in him needing to make some of his assets liquid. He sold off some of his stock, but he's still not going anywhere. As long as he's not causing a major problem, they want him around to basically be able to pick his brain. Also, Braun Strowman recently did in talking about, trying to get back after his surgery there, has talked about, doing it not just for himself, but for the late Bray Wyatt as well. So now we'll also talk a little bit about last night's Dynamite, on AEW. Also got some other news coming out of AEW as well. So there were 5 matches last night, in which 3 of them were for the Continental Classic tournament, the round robin tournament, the Gold League matches. You had 2 title matches as well. So in the opening match of the night, John Moxley defeated Rush by referee's decision, in which he pretty much choked Rush out to get up to 9 points now. Swerve Strickland defeated Mark Briscoe, which sets up the match next week between the 2 top point getters in the Gold League, between John Moxley and Swerve Strickland. And in the 3rd Continental Classic match, Jay White defeated Jay Lethal, as Mark Briscoe and Jay Lethal have both been mathematically eliminated from winning the tournament. They're still gonna wrestle and finish out the tournament, but at this point, there's no way they can win it now, mathematically. In the other 2 matches, Toni Storm retained the women's world title over Sky Blue, and after the match, as she was celebrating her win, we saw the return of Riho, the AEW's first World Women's Champion, who the last time she was in AEW had been beaten down by Toni Storm, and who was still in the Outcast at the time with Saraya and Ruby Soho. So, and in the main event, Christian Cage retained the TNT title over Adam Copeland with the help of Nick Wayne's mom, Shanna, who came in and basically knocked out Adam Copeland with the TNT title to get revenge for him taking out her son. So that's all I got. And some other piece of interesting news that came out today as well in regards to AEW. Andrade El Idolo's contract seems to be coming up soon. And with that, it's been talk that he might, once it comes up, he might go back down to Mexico and compete in CMLL. Basically Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre. I guess we'll wait and see what all happens with that. Let's see. Now, in some Ring of Honor news, a week from tomorrow, Ring of Honor will be having their final pay-per-view event of the year, Final Battle. Already signed for it, of course, Athena will be defending the Ring of Honor World Women's title against Billy Starks. Billy Starks will seek to take the title from Athena after enduring months of abuse as Athena's quote-unquote minion. The finals of the Survival of the Fittest tournament for the Ring of Honor World Television title will be taking place, as Dalton Castle and Commander have already locked themselves into the 6-way match for the belt. Also signed for Final Battle, Shane Taylor of Shane Taylor Productions takes on Limitless Keith Lee, and Tony Nese will be of the Varsity Athletes will be taking on Ethan Page in an I Quit match. That's all we got for you in regards to the wrestling wrap up. So now, today being Thursday, Thursday, December 7th, 2023. Let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. History! Let's see. 83, 73, 53, and 2013. Okay. So with all that being said, first off, I'd like to wish a happy 70th birthday to Buzz Dixon. Of course, Buzz Dixon is an American television writer known for his work on with companies like Filmation, Ruby Spears Enterprises, Marvel Productions. He of course wrote for shows as The Bionic Six, Spiral Zone, Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, Superman, Tiny Toon Adventures. I know G.I. Joe was Batman the Animated, Conan the Adventurer, Batman the Animated Series, Wild West Cowboys of Moon Mesa, G.I. Joe Extreme. He also did the G.I. Joe Real American Hero cartoon as well. So happy 70th birthday to Buzz Dixon. As we get ready to move on to the next piece of Nietzsche history. Move ahead to 1973. On this date in 1973, Dr. Death, not Steve Williams, this is somebody else who went by that name. Dr. Death and Mr. Wrestling, Tim Woods, defeated Raul Reyes and Ruben Juarez for the NWA Americas Tag Team Championship. This was a tag team championship that was competed in NWA Hollywood. On this date, 50 years ago today, in 1973, Dr. Death and Mr. Wrestling defeated Raul Reyes and Ruben Juarez for the NWA Americas Tag Team Championship. Getting ready to move on to the next. And move on to the next. Next piece of Nietzsche history here. So we move ahead to 1983, which was 40 years ago today. On this date, 40 years ago today, the 25th issue of Star Wars Return of the Jedi went on sale in the UK, or I guess was released on this date through Marvel UK as its publisher. 40 years ago today, it was 24 pages. So on this date, 40 years ago today, 25th issue of Star Wars Return of the Jedi was released in the United Kingdom through Marvel UK Publishing. And finally, one more piece of Nietzsche. On this date, 10 years ago today, back in 2013, over in Japan, TMS's Lupin the Third versus Detective Conan, the movie, was released in Japan on this date 10 years ago today. So TMS is Lupin the Third versus Detective Conan. Basically a combination of two very well-known popular animes, Lupin the Third, and we know it as Case Closed here in the States, Detective Conan. The movie was released in Japanese theaters on this date in 2013. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. We will be back here tomorrow night for our weekly look back at comics history. Tim Olson will be my co-host as we look back at comics that went on sale in January 1940, specifically focusing on Marvel Comics, in which we will be I'm trying to think here. We'll be focusing in on Mystic Comics #1, of course, introducing some characters, reading through some stories. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. And I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.